Hi guys, my name is Ellen and today I'm going to be testing out another new foundation. So my last video I was testing out two foundations, the KVD Good Apple Balm as well as the L'Oreal Infallible Powder Foundation. So those two foundations everyone has been reviewing, they're all over the internet. They've gone completely viral, but this foundation I have not heard anyone talk about yet. I think this only released a couple days ago, and this is the Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Blurring Skin Tint. So when I looked on Sephora just now, I think there was only about 9 reviews on this foundation. I didn't actually read any of the reviews because I didn't want anyone else's thoughts or opinions to kind of like, I don't know, implant their way into my first impressions. So this is just a completely clean slate. I don't know anything about this foundation. So I'm going to read some of the claims to you before I put this on my face. So again, this is the Eaze Drop Blurring Skin Tint. It retails for $29.50 and there are 25 shades. It is supposed to be a lightweight, buildable, light to medium coverage that leaves skin looking blurred and smoothed in flexible shades for all. It's a light coverage, natural finish, liquid tint. You are supposed to shake well and apply a few drops with either your fingers or a foundation brush. And it says that it is made to layer with your skincare and primer, which is interesting because they don't say it's made specifically to be used with their primer or their skincare. So it seems that they're implying that it would work well with just about anything that you put underneath of it. So since they say that, I think I'm going to use a primer on one half of my face just to see if that affects the wear or the application of the foundation. So the primer that I will use is the Farsali Liquid Glass. This is one of my favorite primers of all time. It has hyaluronic acid in it, so it just adds a nice plumpness. I will take a little bit of this Farsali primer, just a little bit of it. You really don't need too much of this. I'll just kind of do a little bit of that. And I'll just take a brush and kind of buff that in. So I was actually thinking I'm going to take a little bit of the Tarte Clean Slate Timeless Smoothing Primer on the same side where I have the Farsali primer, but just kind of in, you know, my T-zone area really lightly to fill in the pores. Because of how much like silicone and dimethicone you have in this type of a primer, there's certain formulas that just don't work well with it. So I thought maybe I could just kill two birds with one stone, use that hydrating hyaluronic acid serum primer as well as a silicone pore filling primer, because if it does work with both of these primers, then we do have a wide variety of primers that, you know, we're testing out all at once. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this. You really need a super small amount of this, or else you can get, you know, pilling or bunching up of the foundation over top of it. So you just need a teeny bit, and I'm just going to try and really make sure it's only on this left side of my face. And these type of primers really work well if you... What you doing? And these type of primers really work well if you kind of warm them up and then you really press them... My dog. And these type of primers really work best if you warm them up and then really kind of roll and press them into the area that you want them, because you're almost kind of pressing it into the pores that you're trying to fill. Okay, so primer is on. Now we are moving on to the foundation. I got the shade number 4. When I looked online, this was described as a light with a cool undertone, and I think it corresponds to the shade number 170 in the other Fenty foundations. In case you use shade 170 or you're around that area, you know, maybe that's something to gauge towards. But obviously you'd be better off just looking at the Sephora website, because they have a little chart that if you have the other Fenty foundations, you can just see what your shade is and what your corresponding shade is in the skin tint. So it does say to shake it up really good. What I think I'm going to do is just put a little bit of it on the back of my hand. It says you only need a few drops, but I don't know, we'll see. Okay, I feel like that didn't do much. It is supposed to be light coverage, but they say it's kind of buildable to a medium. So I am just going to try and build it a little bit in areas where I feel like I could use the extra help. Once I started adding, you know, a little bit of a second layer in that area, you really can see the skin start to even out, but, you know, in a very natural way. You can definitely tell it's a very natural finish. It almost has like a little bit of a matte kind of look to it, even though I have the Farsali Glowy Primer on this side. It definitely looks like it's mattifying the skin, but in a very natural way, like a natural matte, like a satin, you know? Okay, so I think the couple drops thing is just, I'm just gonna kind of, just a little bit more, you know? I think think I'll be more of like a 10 drop kind of girl. Okay, so I just added a little bit more to the back of my hand, and I think I might try and use a brush on the other side that I don't have the primer, just right here, and then maybe I'll take the sponge a little bit on the cheek and see if, you know, it makes a huge difference with the sponge. It's applying really nicely with the brush though. Oh my gosh, it actually is really pretty. I feel like anything that I put on my face after that KVD foundation will seem just miraculous, because that one really disappointed me. I feel as if I'm scarred from it a little bit, you know? Okay, let me do a second layer over that area with the sponge, because when I did this side, I did 2 layers with the brush. So I'll just add another layer as well, just to kind of see with 2 layers on each side if there's much difference in coverage. Okay, so I feel like the difference with the sponge is really minimal, but it's a little teeny bit more sheer, and it gives a little bit more of, I think, like a glowy finish, whereas the side with the brush seems to just be a teensy bit more matte looking. And this is also the side I put the glowy primer, so I'm not sure. I think this side just seems to be looking a little bit more matte, so maybe using the sponge is giving it like a little bit more of a glow to it, but it's definitely still giving me coverage with the sponge, so I think that's a good thing. If you're someone who just much prefers to use a sponge, I think you could definitely get away with using a sponge with this foundation. Okay, I'm adding a bit more. I feel like I've been using a lot of this foundation. I mean, they give you more than your standard fluid ounce, so I feel like they're kind of assuming that you're going to use more than a standard foundation. I'm just taking a little bit of it with the sponge on my nose. I feel like the coverage on this actually builds up so nicely. For being like a light coverage foundation, it's very versatile, because you can definitely wear this very light coverage, very sheerly, but it is building up to a very solid medium, and it is really gorgeous. It looks so natural on the skin. I'm really impressed so far with this foundation. Okay, so there it is, fully applied to my face. I will zoom you in so we can look at it up close. Boom! Gotcha. Bet you didn't think I was gonna be this close. Foundation looks amazing, maybe? Okay, but seriously, here's the foundation on. You're real close. So I think you can definitely see that my skin just looks perfected. You know what I mean? You can still see all of hyperpigmentation, freckling, all that kind of stuff on my skin, but it just looks really nice. It's not overly glowy, it's not matte, it just has like a really totally natural finish to it. It's really pretty. It's definitely given my skin a blurred appearance to it. This side is the one where I had the 2 primers, and this side has no primer, and I think this side, honestly, they really don't look that much different. I was gonna say this side looks like it has a bit more coverage, but it actually doesn't. You can still see some of my redness peeking through, some of like my hyperpigmentation, all my freckling and that kind of stuff. You can still see that. And on this side, you know, it's the same thing. It really just looks kind of very similar from side to side, so I don't think the primer has made too much of a difference. I think, especially with the Farsali primer, that one really, again, because of the hyaluronic acid, it's just going to give your skin a nice kind of hydrated plumpness to it, so it's just going to look nice under really any foundation, because it's just going to give your skin a little bit of life. But I find that in terms of blurring, it really looks blurred the same amount on both sides. This foundation really does give your skin a filtered effect. It's really pretty. I'm so happy. This is like the exact opposite of the KVD foundation. I hate to keep bringing up that foundation, but it was just so... I had to say it. I'm sorry. I had to say it. Okay, I'll zoom you back out and we can do the rest of my makeup. So I'm going to take a little bit of the Tarte Shape Tape. I think I shall mix a little bit of that concealer in with the Kosas concealer. This is in the shade 1.5C, and then the Tarte one was in 12B. So I find that this Kosas concealer, the formula is really nice on it, but the color is a little bit more like yellow and olive than I like. It's supposed to be a cool undertone, that's why it's called 1.5C, but I really don't find the undertone to be very cool on it. It's almost more like an olive tone, as I said. The foundation and concealer just blended together like, oh, so good. I need a donut break. Okay, so I'm going to take this Anastasia flat definer brush and take this color right here. It looks like a really dark blue, but it's actually a kind of dark green color. It's actually the color that I have up here, that dark green. And I'm just going to take that. Then I'm going to take this little Real Technique smudging kind of a brush, and I think I will blend that green out with maybe, oh my god, I keep digging my nails and my brushes into this palette. Gosh darn it. Okay, so I think I will take this kind of light green right there. Okay, then I'm just going to take a little bit of mascara. Oh my gosh. Some chunks fell out of here. That doesn't seem good, but this is not old. Okay, I think it's fine. But this is the Tom Ford Lash Raise Mascara, and it just has a skinny kind of wand. So I like it for my lower lash line. I got a little dot of mascara underneath my eye, which is annoying, but it's fine. I'm just going to leave it there for a second so it can dry, and then I'll just scrape it off with a Q-tip. So I'm just, whoa, I lost my voice for a second there. I'm just going to do my other lash line, and then I will be right back. Okay, so I did my other eye, but I realized I forgot my inner corner, so I'm just going to take this shade right here. It's a really interesting, like, duochrome type shade. It has almost like a taupey kind of color, but then there's green reflex and that has almost a gold shift to it. So I'm going to take that one on my inner corner. I used a teeny bit of this on my lid. That's when I did my makeup earlier, but I ended up enhancing it with a Touch in Soul eyeshadow, which I can show you. Actually, yeah, I think I'll take that Touch in Soul eyeshadow that you used on the lid. It is this one right here, and it's called the Metallist Sparkling Foiled Pigment in Sun Aurora, and this one is so pretty. It has this amazing shift to it where it shifts from like a lime green to a gold to a pinkish peach color. Like, there's so many different shifty fun things in here. As I said, this is what I have on my lid. So I'll just take that on the inner corner as well. I mean, how pretty is that color, especially over this kind of like darker green. When you go like this over the green, oh my gosh, look at that. I'm just gonna keep taking it in. But moving on, I'm gonna do a little bit of cream contour. This is the Burberry face contour. That took me 10 minutes to find the name, and it's just called a face contour. But this is in the shade medium. Okay, so I'm going to set those creams down with a little bit of powder. I'm going to take my Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin Powder Foundation. This is the shade R230. Okay, so for bronzer, I'm going to use the YSL All Hours Setting Powder, but this is in the shade B65. So on me, this color is just a bronzing color. It's kind of like a warm bronzer. I'm going to take a little bit on my chest because I feel like my chest is just, it's really giving away how pale I actually am. Whereas this bronzer makes my face look nice and tan. Okay, blush. I'm going to use the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Blush in Dim Infusion. It's just a nice, very light kind of a peachy champagne color. The swirls are definitely like a very kind of champagne-y, warm champagne color, and then mixed with the peach, it just kind of creates like a neutral peach on the cheeks. I don't know why I was trying to complicate that. It's basically a peach. And it's a nice like neutral kind of tone, so it really goes with everything. I feel like since that bronzer was so warm, I don't want my blush to also be like so warm. Kind of neutralize it a little bit with this blush tone. Actually, I just realized I had this Fenty Diamond Balm in the shade Royal Icing. It's supposed to be like a champagne shade. I swatched it when I first got it, and then I literally totally forgot that I had this. But since I'm doing a Fenty foundation kind of review, I'll try this puppy out. It looks definitely more like a gold than a champagne. And if you haven't tried these diamond balms, they have this really interesting putty texture, as you can see. And the base on them, like the base tone on them, is sheer. So really the only color you get is from the sparkles. The original one is called How Many Carats, and this one just has silver sparkle in it. So let me just swatch the two of them together in case you don't have these. And it looks almost like a silver, but when you actually kind of blend that out on the skin, it's really just kind of the silver, like platinum tone shimmer that's in there. And then this one is, again, described as a champagne, but it really looks like kind of a gold. These are actually really pretty for like a certain type of a look, because it really is just a lot of micro glitter. So it can give you kind of like a wet look to the skin, but it also is glittery. So there's, I don't know, there's a time and a place for it, you know? And I'm just using this Artist Couture brush, a highlight brush for it. In person, you can definitely see that it's sparkly, but the good thing, like what makes these actually wearable to me, is that the sparkle is so fine that in real life, it still looks nice. Like it still gives the skin like a highlighted, glassy kind of appearance to it. So I think I might layer a bit of this on just for fun, just for kicks. The combination of the gold and the platinum color kind of give it almost, I don't know, like a duochrome appearance, and it kind of neutralizes the two colors so it's not too warm or too cool. Okay, so right as I was about to put my lipstick on and basically finish up my makeup, my SD card filled up, which it does at the most opportune moments, but I thought I would just kind of leave it. I would import all the footage and then go about my day doing some other things. So I've had this foundation on for over 4 hours now, because it's been about 3.5 hours since I was last here, and I had it on for about half an hour while I was kind of messing around doing my makeup. The one thing I want to mention that I did not do was use a setting spray. That's something that I basically always do whenever I do my makeup, even if it's a really light kind of makeup look. I always kind of just spray a little bit of setting spray on there to help everything stay, but I didn't do that this time, just to kind of test how long wearing this foundation would be on its own. So since it's been about 4 hours, I thought I would pull up the claims of the foundation again and kind of just go through them one by one and tell you whether I agree or disagree or something in between. So first off, it says that it is lightweight, which I totally agree with. It is a very comfortable foundation because it has a very natural in-between finish to it. It doesn't feel drying and it doesn't feel dewy. Even though I've had it on for 4 hours and I've been doing stuff around the house, I've been cooking, cleaning, you know, all that different kind of stuff, laundry, going up and down the stairs, this whole time, the finish on it hasn't changed at all. And then it says it is buildable, light to medium coverage, which again, I totally agree with. Obviously, if I were to use way less of this, I could get a light coverage, but I really built it up and used a lot of it, and I was able to get a very beautiful medium coverage. It built up gorgeously. So it says it leaves skin looking blurred and smooth. So this side is the side where I used primer, and then this side is no primer. So in the area right here where I used the pore filling primer, it looks a teeny bit smoother compared to the other side, but I will say the difference is so minimal. This side just looks, you know, a little bit more kind of blurred and filtered, whereas this side, it just has a little bit more of a natural kind of texture to it. It doesn't look like my pores are exaggerated or anything like that. It just looks like real skin on this side, if that makes sense. I think it's something that you definitely don't need to use a primer with. This side honestly looks almost exactly the same to this side, so the primers really didn't make that much of a difference, and I think it looks beautiful like all around. And then it says it is humidity, sweat, and transfer resistant. So I mean, I guess I kind of tested that in the sense of like humidity, because while I was over the stove cooking and doing all that kind of stuff, all of that steam, like the heat and the steam didn't affect the makeup at all, so I can say that that definitely worked. But in terms of like sweating and transfer resistance on a mask or anything like that, that's something that I will have to keep you guys updated on. And then it says it layers well with primer and skincare, which I totally agree. Everything that I layered it with, the skincare that I had originally on my face plus the primers, it layered with all of that beautifully. So yeah, those are all the claims of the foundation. I can't believe I agreed with every single one of them. I'm trying to think if I have any cons with this foundation. I guess this isn't really a con, but they say you only need like a few drops to kind of get a nice light coverage on the face. I think you would need, even if I were to want to do a light coverage or a sheer wash of color on my face, I would still need more than like a couple drops, because I used a lot of it to get this very solid medium coverage on my face. So I think if I wanted to wear my foundation in a light coverage way, I would still want to use enough of it where I feel like it has kind of smoothed and evened out my skin a little bit, and I feel like a couple drops of this wouldn't do that. But they do give you more than that standard fluid ounce. They give you 1.08 fluid ounces in here, and it is $29, which is less, I believe, than her other foundations. So, you know, if you're using a little bit more of this than recommended, I think you would still kind of go through it at the same pace as a different foundation, if that makes sense. So that's not really a con to me, it's just more like an observation that I definitely had to use a lot more than they recommended. But I also was trying to really build up the coverage, so I guess it kind of depends on what your preferences are. So I think that is everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed making it, and I hope at least it was helpful in some way or another. If you did find it helpful, please like and subscribe, and have an amazing day or night wherever you are.